Well, I decided that to write about organizations, you had to write about decision-making process, that was the heart of it. And that was a fairly new idea then, but it certainly was already embedded in Barnard's work. And then I simply sat down and tried to think of how that decision process could be described. And I first gave the economist's account of it as a basis for showing how I proposed to depart from it. And then I essentially, in the 5th chapter of the book, laid out what today people would talk about as bounded rationality, and showed how the actual choices people make are different from these ideal choices in economics, A, because the alternatives aren't given, because the consequence, well, for all of those reasons. In economics, there was, of course, a highly formalized theory which said that people had preferences that all somehow that came together in a consistent way into something called a utility function. So if you preferred A to B and B to C, you wouldn't turn around and say, oh, I really prefer C to A. And that people somehow or other looked at an array of choices before them. All of these things were on the shelf, and they picked the one that maximized the utility. And that seemed to me to be a very dubious way of describing human choice. First, because I couldn't find in my own mind or in my friends a consistent utility function. What we preferred depended, it seemed to me, terribly on what our attention happened to be on at any given moment. Secondly, we never had full information or anything remotely compared to that about the consequences of choosing this or that. You could think of some consequences and miss other enormous ones. Third, that when several people were involved, we had no way of comparing their utilities, and economics gives no way.